Hi, this is Kazarov.
On August 27, 2025, President Donald Trump publicly accused billionaire donor George Soros and his son Alex of organizing or funding violent protests across the United States. Via a post on Truth Social, Trump claimed both should be charged under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. He wrote, George Soros and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests and much more all throughout the United States of America. Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country. Be careful, we're watching you. The Open Society Foundations denied the allegations, calling them outrageous and false, stating they do not support or fund violent protests. Legal experts noted RICO requires evidence of a coordinated criminal enterprise, which Trump has not yet presented. Elon Musk publicly backed Trump's stance, writing, "High time action was taken against Soros directly."
This is one of those moments where you've got to ask, when do big names stop being exempt? I hear people say, but free speech, free funding, non-profits allow support, and yeah, that stuff matters. But there's a difference between donating to causes and bankrolling groups that flare into violence. If Soros is doing the latter, then laws like RICO exist for that reason. Trump's calling him out. Good. Someone has to. I back Trump here, not because I hate Soros, but because I believe in accountability. Power without oversight breeds chaos. If the Open Society Foundations are truly funding groups that end up in violent protest, then we need to see audit trails. Bring forward documents, show grants, show coordination, show culpability. If that's true, prosecute. If not, clear your name. But don't hide behind political donor status. Musk doubling down. I get why that resonates. Lots of people feel like there's a layer of elite donors nobody holds responsible. Seeing a billionaire known for pushing left causes being challenged legally is rare. That shakes things up, but in a good way if it's lawful. Now, I don't want this turning into witch hunts. Trump has floated legal threats at opponents before. Lines can blur fast. This must be smart, transparent, constitutional, DOJ, courts, investigators. They all have to be above board. No politics of vendetta. If you misuse RICO, it sets a dangerous precedent at the end of the day. Involuntarily under law isn't just for small people. If giant money players break rules, they should be just as exposed. Trump's move here may be bold. We'll see if there's proof. But I support him demanding proof and action, because otherwise trust decays, and when trust in justice falls, society frays.
Since Trump's announcement, the Open Society Foundations has repeatedly denied any role in supporting violence, stating all their grants are earmarked for human rights, democratic engagement, and peaceful protest. A spokesperson emphasized that none of their funding is directed toward organizing protests that break laws. Meanwhile, watchdogs and media analysts are examining public grant records, protest footage, and social media data for any connections. Some conservative groups claim they've uncovered patterns of donations from OSF grantees to local organizations that participated in demonstrations that became violent. Others caution such associations are weak proof. The Department of Justice has neither confirmed nor denied opening a RICO investigation. In Congress, several Republican lawmakers have called for hearings to investigate the allegations, while civil liberties groups warn against damaging nonviolent activism. The dispute is becoming one of the signature issues ahead of the 2026 midterm elections.
Okay, here's how I see this. So OSF says they don't fund violence. Maybe that's true. Maybe there are no checks tying money to destruction. But you know what? People who claim innocence get away with a lot. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be an investigation. That's not justice without fear, it's accountability. I support Trump pushing this forward, not because I want to see Soros lock it up necessarily, but because no one should operate above law. If there are local groups that accepted money from OSF and then took part in violent protests, trace those funds, map them, let truth come out. If there's guilt, punish. If innocence, vindicate. But we need clarity. I get the worries from civil liberties folks. They say misuse of law can punish dissent. True? That's dangerous. But protest often toes the line. When it crosses, someone must answer. If politicians or donors are indirectly enabling chaos, they shouldn't be shielded just because of fame or wealth. It's like this: freedom of speech and non-profit support are important, yes, but they are not blank checks. Laws like RICO exist for serious abuse. Let them work as intended. If OSF is clean, fine, they'll prove it. If not, they should face consequences. We can't just assume charitable foundation harmless. In the end, I believe Trump is doing something necessary, pushing for transparency, for proof, for consequences. That's what a leader should do. Not hide behind money, not ignore potential harm, but demand evidence. And if you have that, act. That's how you keep democracy safe, not by ignoring power, but by holding it accountable.
According to recent filings reviewed by media outlets, some local organizations that received funding from Open Society foundations were also connected to demonstrations which later included property damage or clashes with law enforcement. However, legal analysts reviewing those filings say there is no direct proof yet that OSF intentionally funded or organized violence. Open Society has published grant records showing funds go to civic engagement, transparency, public health, and education rather than to protest organizing. In legislative hearings, Republican members proposed bills to increase federal oversight of nonprofit donor networks and require detailed disclosures of how funds are used by recipient groups. Civil liberties advocates argue such bills risk infringing on free expression and donor privacy. DOJ officials reportedly are reviewing evidence, but have not filed charges or announced any formal investigation into Soros or OSF as of mid-September 2025.